Welcome to a short video outlining the power of the new Galileo encode functionality. You'll find the new functionality under the Server tab from the Galileo client. Choose Network Stream Encoding, and the first thing we'll do is to create a new area to encode. In this case, I'll use the upper left portion, so I'll title this upper left. I'll save the area. When I double click the area, it lets me click and drag to choose which area of the entire video wall I'd like to select. And you'll see in the video wall output, it shows you exactly what the portion is you're defining for the encode selection. Once you click apply, the area is saved. We can choose a new area to define, in this case the upper right portion, and again on the video wall output, I will see the area I am defining. And I can click and drag and move that rectangle either with the mouse, or I can choose the exact pixels for the encoded area. I can also choose to take one of my video inputs, my baseband video inputs, as the encoded source. So now whether input 1 is appearing on the video wall or not, I can choose to have that stream out as one of my encoded streams. Next step is to create an encoder to take those areas to then stream out. In this case, I'll call it encoder 1. When I double click on my newly created encoder, I can see lots of possibilities for adjustment, from the frame rate, the frame resolution, bit depth, chroma, compression ratio, all sorts of things you can adjust for this encoder. I want to keep it at its default 1080p resolution, so I'll click apply. Now just to make sure I know which one this is, I'm going to rename this encode 1-1080. So I know this is my 1080p stream versus the other one I'm going to create right now. That will be a 720p stream. So I can title this encode 2-720. Double click that to now come in to adjust the frame resolution with the default settings for a 720p stream, 1280 by 720, and click apply. Now I have two encoders, one for 1080, one for 720p. Now whatever area I drop onto my encoder will then be encoded at that resolution. And the next step is to create an endpoint to handle the actual streaming out of my encoder. In this case, I'll label it Go for Galileo-1. Simple enough. I'll create a second one that's called Go-2. So now I can have two streams being encoded and sent across my network from my Galileo. So I can drag my upper left area onto encode 1, and now drag encoder 1 to Galileo 1 endpoint. And that starts the streaming process. As you mouse over the encoder, you'll see the RTSP URL to use for your decoder, and immediately you'll see that video wall output portion, the upper left, on your decoder. You can double click the endpoint to copy and paste the RTSP URL again, or change some other settings about this endpoint. Now let's create another area that is the entire video wall and see how we can downsize that or downscale that and send that across our network. So in this case, I have a 2x3 video wall. I'll label it entire video wall. I can drag that area on top of my 720p encoder, and it will take the entire 2x3 video wall, downscale that to 720. Now when I drag and drop my encoder on top of my Go-to endpoint, and I set up my decoder, you can see the encoded stream is my entire video wall, downscaled to 720p, and sent across my network. And now with my encoders all set up and streaming across my network, whatever I do on my video wall will be reflected on that encoded stream. I can move windows around and define new windows, drag and drop new sources. Whatever I do on my video wall canvas is now reflected on any of the video wall defined areas being encoded and sent across the network. I hope this gives you some idea of the power of the new encode functionality on Galileo display wall processors. For more information, go to rgb.com/Galileo.